Whether it's the things that go bump in the night or any of the unconfirmed sights or sounds of our little desert oasis, this is Peter Price with your weekly insight to a world unseen. Last week on our program, we talked about the strange creature alongside the 936 freeway, and I actually found a follow-up. Our friends at the Animal Control Center have promised to assist me in traveling into Ashen Falls Forest area in an attempt to find the county's famous mountain man, who I believe was wandering alongside the freeway late last week. A local legend, the stories of the mountain man have been around as far back as I can even remember. I was at the local library doing some research for our program when I was told that the mountain man had been spotted closer and closer to town. So I called Stephen at the Animal Control Center. Stephen was a fellow student at the university in Fairport, so we caught up a little bit over the phone and I asked if they had received any calls about the mountain man. We managed to schedule a time that we could go search for the mountain man next week. If I can manage to score an interview, I could... I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. I mean, who knows if the mountain man speaks English or any language for that matter. But if he does, and I can get a few questions, wouldn't it be amazing? I can't wait. And while at the library, I actually ran into my old high school principal, Mr. Bodeker, and we chatted for a minute. It always brings me back to the good old days. You were always just a slacker, Price, and you'll always be a slacker. Oh, he always knows how to take me back to the high school days, when I only dreamt of sitting in front of this microphone talking to all of you about the unnamed horrors that stalk our community. I also met a very strange man last week. He seemed homeless, but you could tell that he had some stories. I didn't catch his name, but if he was planning on sticking around town for a while, I know I'll see him again. We met in front of the diner where Margaret works, and those of you who live in Hope know the diner that I'm talking about. After last week's broadcast, I stopped in for a quick breakfast, and the man was standing outside with his arm extended. At the time, I assumed that he was just a fan and wanted a high five, and as the social guy I've always been, of course I gave it to him. But thinking about it now, he might have been trying to flag someone down. I know the girl who works over at the cemetery was leaving as I arrived, and maybe he needed to talk to her. And if that ended up being the case, I'll help the man get a hold of her. He seems innocent enough. We haven't had any callers about the Mount Tanner sighting last week, which is upsetting. I mean, I have no doubt in my mind that a UFO did make its way to our county's tallest mountain, but if no one saw it, it might as well have never happened. I would, myself stake out the mountain, but I'm extremely busy with our show, so if a fan would like to observe the mountain every night, you would have the studio's full support. In unrelated news, the county has had a rising drug problem. This isn't a normal subject of our program, but it's becoming a larger issue and it affects us all. We can all take something from a very strong university professor. You all know the one who I'm talking about, and the rumors say that he had had a very tough upbringing and is no stranger to illegal narcotics. But look where he is now, making more money than most and loving what he does. Our program is short this week, listeners, and I apologize, but it's been a really quiet week in our small desert oasis. But next week, I will have a follow-up story on that mountain man. So until next time, you can't put a price on insight to a world unseen.